having just watched this for the first time, right? You'd never seen it before.
No.
Did Martin Scorsese prove to himself that he could still make movies with After Hours?
He.
Well, Tig,
Eric?
I have a movie suggestion for you.
Oh, I'm very...
Something for you to watch. This is a movie from the 1980s, twisted black comedy that features Cheech and Chong, among others, directed by Martin Scorsese. So you are going to watch the movie After Hours.
So I haven't got enough money to get home until I meet this bartender who wanted to lend me the money.
That's all right, forget it.
On the cab on the way down here, all my money flew out the window.
Now this part, you're gonna say, oh, you're lying to me, don't lie to me, but it's true.
So you are going to watch that, and then you're going to report back to me and give a full movie report. We will have a bright and lively discussion where we will engage in witty banter and conversation.
That sounds good. I'll go check it out, and I'll report back to you.
Is everybody happy? Then let's go. It's showtime.
All right, I'm about to sit down and watch After Hours. Got myself some tasty almonds and some rice cakes because I'm trying to eat better and not blow up like a balloon over the winter. Maybe some peanuts. See you in about an hour and a half.
We're rolling.
Yes.
You have completed your journey through After Hours, the 1985 Martin Scorsese picture. It's a little bit offbeat for his catalog because this is more of a sort of a black comedy. It's a little bit zany, which I'm sure Tig will go into. And just for a little bit of context, he did this during a downturn in his career. He had a big critical success with Taxi Driver in 1976. And then in 1977, he had this really big, ambitious musical called New York, New York, which was an absolute and utter complete bomb. He made Raging Bull a couple of years later, but even though Raging Bull is now considered one of the great films of all time, it was a box office failure. So he was just like absolutely distraught, didn't know what the hell to do with himself. And this script for this small little indie picture, he and the script collided. And he's like, the way he describes it is, I wanted to prove to myself that I could still make movies. So I guess then I would throw at you, having just watched this for the first time, right? You'd never seen it before.
No.
Did Martin Scorsese prove to himself that he could still make movies with After Hours?
He...
You don't have to like it.
No, I'm not going to... I was going to say, I'm glad you just explained what place he was in at the time of making this, because I didn't like the movie. That's really hard for me to say because just like everybody, I like Martin Scorsese, so it's like watching this, at first I wasn't sure if I just didn't like it because I was expecting like, oh, it's going to be like the funny parts with Goodfellas, like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's nothing like that at all.
No, it was literally, as it went on, it became more and more of an 80s zany comedy.
Lighten up! What is this?
Definitely, if you were going into it expecting something that was Scorsese-ish, or at least the what people expect from Scorsese, you definitely don't get that. It is a zany fever dream of wackiness.
I like that.
Do you?
Yeah, very much.
And it doesn't start out like that. It's just very uneasy because you don't know what's going on. That like underlying feeling he can make you feel that something terrible is going to happen soon.
Right.
The beginning is like that.
I'm going to ask you to wait here just one more minute, I promise.
All right.
And I loved that part of it. Halfway through the movie, it turned and it stopped being that, and then it became he's being chased around the city by a mob.
Right.
Who thinks
That's kind of the what I love about it is, right, when he takes that cab ride in the beginning, when he decides, you know what, I'm attracted to this woman, screw it, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see her. And he takes that absolutely wild cab ride, which, the cab ride is it's almost as if it was teleporting him to a different world, like a different universe. The interactions start off kind of normal but strange and a little off, But the further and the deeper he gets into the night, the more bizarre everything becomes, because these people are just like increasingly twisted, and the connections between them and the coincidences pile one on top of the other until it's like this guy is in this mess that he can't get himself out of.
It was like a gritty New York City 80s Wizard of Oz.
So for people who haven't seen it, this character, Paul Hackett, just sort of a regular office working schlub, and he meets an attractive woman in a diner. There seems to be something a little off about her, but he lets the little head get the better of him and do the thinking for him. He gets to her apartment, and not only is she really strange, but her roommate is really strange. And then shit just gets out of control from there, where he gets trapped in all these seemingly compromising situations, and and on it goes until it just explodes into madness. And it's got this huge, actually really impressive cast.
Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, Griffin Dunn, who I remember from Who's That Girl? Rosanna Arquette is Marcy. Linda Florentino, right? Terry Garr and Catherine O'Hara are both.
Terry Garr I loved in this.
Cheech and Chong.
Don Hurd.
Yeah.
I wondered if I should have prepped you for it ahead of time and told you, like, this is to tell you what it was going to be, because I figured, like a zany 80s movie, that's right up Tig's alley. But perhaps like going into it and not realizing that's what you were going to see was a zany 80s movie, that might have, I don't know, maybe
I think it did, because now that we're talking about it, I didn't expect it at all. Like at all. I just thought, like, okay, I'm sitting down. I know it's a dark comedy, but Goodfellas is kind of a dark comedy. So in my head, I'm thinking that, and then I'm sitting down going, but this isn't even realistic. Like, he could just make
Gotta keep working on you. They could still come back.
Let me out of this thing. You hear me? Let me out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's just like complete, no question about it. That's exactly what it is. In the beginning, he's just having these uncomfortable interactions with people, but then by the end it's like, he's being chased by mobs through the streets, and there's like ice cream truck drivers who are riling up mobs against him, and it gets pretty insane.
What do you want from me? What have I done? Just a word processor, for Christ's sake!
I didn't care about each of the characters because you don't get to know them, but
Right.
I liked all the characters. Like I loved Catherine O'Hara's character, and Terry Garr's character was fun because she's sort of stuck in the 60s. So it's real, I guess when it was filmed especially, it came off, she was like a nerd.
What's your name? Julie.
The connections with the bartender and it being Marcy being the bartender's girlfriend. One thing I really like, the scene where Paul talks to the bartender and he doesn't have enough money to get home on the subway, and the bartender's like, I'll just give it to you.
I'll give you the money.
Really?
Yeah, Jesus.
Really? I can't tell you how much that would mean to me.
But then he can't get into the cash register.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Forget it.
So then they have that conversation where he wants to give him the keys to his apartment. The whole part of that where he gets sidetracked, he still has the guy's keys and he's supposed to go back to give him the keys. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's probably like, he's robbing me. Why is he come back? I loved that whole thing. That whole part of the movie I actually really enjoyed. You could put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, like something goes wrong, and like all of a sudden it makes you look like you're trying to.
Yeah, and you think this person's going to be like you. Though I didn't understand why later in the movie, when he runs back into the bartender and he explains to him,
there's an angry mob out there, and they want to kill me because they think I'm robbing apartments. I could have robbed you blind, but I didn't because I'm not a thief.
Why the bartender eventually ends up going out and telling the people chasing him, thinking he's the robber, that he is the robber.
I think he just didn't believe him. Paul's story kind of doesn't really add up, even though, like, because we can see his point of view. We understand that he's just caught in these odd circumstances. From everyone else's point of view, he really is like doing the robberies, and he's, he was involved in Marcy's death. He's always in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the connections are always falling into place in like bad ways. The whole sequence, like both scenes in Marcy's apartment, are like super uncomfortable because there's some really dark undercurrents to that. Like there's some implications dropped with like the burn victims and her being abused and stuff like that, where it's like, whoa, this is heavy shit. Near the beginning, when he first gets to her apartment, there's a shot where the keys get dropped down to him. You see him trying to catch the keys, and he has this split second moment where he's like, "Now maybe I don't want these keys." And there's this sort of theory that that is the focal point. That's the key. Like that's the turning point of the movie is his decision of whether or not to take those keys. And once he does, he's basically stepping into a dark wonderland. He's encountering these strange old singers in basements who are who are casting these plaster of Paris sculptures, and he's getting chased around the city by ice cream truck drivers and mobs of angry people. And Cheech and Chong are like bouncing around the city, robbing things.
Hey, where'd you get that?
And it's just one thing on top of another on top of another. I love it. I think it's one of his like sort of overlooked, I wouldn't call it an overlooked masterpiece, but it's one of these little things where it's like when people talk about Scorsese's work, After Hours rarely comes up, potentially in part because it's not what people expect when you think of his work.
No, definitely not.
It's completely different than just about anything else he's ever done. I love the writing. I love the haziness of it, the sort of the increasing manicness of it, and the fact that the deeper and deeper into this night that Paul gets, the deeper in the hole he is. Like he just can't get out of that neighborhood. By the time you get to the end, there's so many connections, like your head is kind of spinning.
Yeah, the way everything was connected was cool.
The thing is, though, you don't know how much of it is real and how much of it isn't, especially the stuff surrounding Marcy, because she talks about some really dark things, and it's unclear how much of that is truthful, how much of that's in her head, or she's just making it up.
I still don't understand the burn. The implication is that somebody burned her or something. Right. And she goes to the doctor, and there's the cream that she has.
Right. Yeah. And she's got like the books with the horrific photos.
And that's a funny scene too, because this is terrible. That scene where she dies, he goes to look where he thought there was a burn on her leg, and he sees it kind of peeking out, and he's like, yeah, she's dead, but I kind of need to know. So he starts moving it away, and it's just a tattoo, and he pulls basically like the blanket all the way off, so you could see most of her. There's nothing wrong with her. And there's the references by Kiki about being burnt, like, oh, some people have worse scars. I know it's probably metaphorically, like emotional scars.
The picture is kind of getting into this idea that all these people who look normal on the surface aren't, and there's something broken inside them. Well, you've got Kiki, who looks like, looks like she could be on the top of a Mad Max car holding a chainsaw shotgun, is like pretty like stable, and she's just, like sometimes life sucks, but you do what you need to, and you move on.
The farther towards the end it got, the zanier it became.
It doesn't go where you expect it. It's a zany 80s comedy through the lens of like Martin Scorsese.
I've got 97 cents.
No.
Would you just give me a break? I really just want to go home.
I could lose my job.
Well, who would know exactly?
I could go to a party, get drunk, talk to someone.
Can I help you? Yeah, I wanted to take the express, and that was a local.
I was trying to see through my notes if I don't think I missed anything. The overflowing toilet in Tom's apartment made me laugh.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. It's definitely an odd movie, and it's not for everyone. And people should go in with the correct expectations, because if you think you're getting one thing, I'm
glad I watched it. We're both movie buffs, but we're both into different types of movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun to watch something that I would have never watched it. That makes me want to see more of his movies that I never really cared about seeing.
I do think he gets pigeonholed as the Goodfellas guy, like everything is that, tough guys doing tough guy things and all that. But that actually only makes up like maybe half of his output.
I'm more open to checking out some of his stuff that I never would have really cared or thought about checking out.
I think that's terrific, and I'm glad we had like regardless of whether or not you enjoyed it, I feel like we had a good discussion about it. So that's the important part. So people who were watching this, check out our next episode, because it's going to be on Brewster's Millions. I'll be the one watching, and we'll have a nice little discussion.
Indeed. make sure to like and maybe even subscribe to the channel if you want to watch more of this stuff and all the other stuff that we happen to do constantly. And we have a Patreon at Nerd Out With Me. You can get these videos early or even bonus videos.
If there's any Scorsese fans who are dropping in on this, check through our video log, because I do. On Raging Bull a couple months ago, and I'm the author of the films of Martin Scorsese, Gangsters, Greed, and Guilt, which is available now by Rowman and Littlefield, available in better bookstores, as well as on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and all the other good stuff. It's in hardcover and ebook, and you should get it, because you should get it.
Books are cool.
Yay! I've been Eric.
I was Tig.